Welcome to What's the Deal with Sam? Starring Sam Lilly. Join Sam as he discusses a wide variety of topics.
Batman.
Now let's start the show.
Thank you. Now we've all heard of DLC, and that's a whole discussion. I've talked about that before. And there's something I've heard of called Day 1 DLC, which is when you release a game is released, not you. When a game is released, unless you're part of the business. Anyways, it's when a game is released, and right away upon release, a brand new game has DLC available for purchase. This is content that's finished. It's done. It probably shouldn't be DLC. It should be included with the game, or if it is something that couldn't be finished in time for production, but still got done in time for the launch of the game for it when it's distributed, make it free DLC, and have it just be part of the game. Because you see, games used to do this thing where they would try to advertise themselves and show how much stuff it had in them. They would show, you can play as this many characters, there are this many levels, there's, this many power-ups. They like to put a bunch of numbers in front of your face and make you see how cool it is. The game is this many bits, 8-bit, 16-bit, 32-bit, 64-bit. Even something as trivial as that, which we don't really fucking understand, they'll try to advertise that their games have more. And we've just seen a kind of a weird flip around on that, and that games are just cutting out more and more content. And this weird thing of how little can we put out and still sell it for full price? How much money can we make on how little of content? How do we manipulate it in such a way that we can do as little work ourselves as possible and still be getting a good amount of money for it? I don't think that's necessarily how it works, but it sure as shit feels like it. God, I wish I could talk. And this thing I'm talking about now that you've probably seen in the title already and wondering what the fuck does that mean, is a thing I like to call DLKey, where there's content you can get on a game that's totally finished. It's content that is already done and on the game itself, be it a digitally downloaded file, be it a disc, be it a cartridge. I believe one of these Street Fighters, I did it or something, I think one of them may have been guilty of this, where it's something that's already done and clearly is on there since day one as well, so it's similar to day one DLC, because the content's already there when it's distributed. And the thing is, you don't actually buy it to download this extra content that wasn't finished. You're paying money so that you can unlock the content that's already on the piece of media you purchased. You're just buying a key. You're downloading a key to play part of the game you already paid for. And the thing that's different between DLC is that at least day one DLC at least feels like, oh well, maybe they couldn't get it done in time. There's that, even if that's not true, it creates that illusion of like, well, maybe they had to finish it later and they just threw it on there. I don't know. But when it's already done and it's part of the fucking game you have and you paid money for, and all you're doing is basically buying a password to play the rest of the game, it really starts to feel like they're trying to test you and see what you'll put up with, seeing what they can get away with, and really showing that they're more concerned with getting your money than they are giving you as much content or giving you a quality experience. And the one recently that happened to me was Fantasy Life for the 3DS, where I found out that there's a thing that they don't call DLC. They try to kind of disguise it as add-on content. You're not actually adding any content onto there, except for, I guess, the key that unlocks the content that's actually already on there, which, it takes up less space to download a really small key, but it also, it's like, well, what the fuck is the point of putting it on there if I'm just gonna have to pay for it anyways? It's just making the file bigger, and especially if you have a digital file, it's like just making the file bigger for stuff you might not even necessarily ever use, because maybe you don't want to be ripped off, and you don't want to use that, but it still takes up the space because it has to be on there because it's part of it already. So, what's the deal with DLKey? It's like day one DLC with the ground.
What's the deal with Sam?